Welcome to principle number one. Principle number one, if you didn't remember before, men and women are different. Now, I know that this doesn't necessarily sound like a revolutionary idea, but just hold on a moment. It's easy to consciously think to ourselves, men are different from us. But it's also pretty easy to let that belief just float up there in our conscious minds without actually allowing it to affect the way we behave around men. How often have you in the past addressed a question or comment to a man and been frustrated, irritated, or hurt by his response? It's usually because we were expecting him to respond in a certain way, usually in the way that we would have responded if we had been him. When we talk to men, most of us end up unconsciously projecting our own personalities and our own gender into them. We want them to respond to us in the way that we will respond, where we in their shoes. So when we get a response that varies from what we'd expected, we get annoyed or hurt, confused, and then we feel resentful, and it shows and things that start getting bumpy. But why is that? Because we've forgotten that men are not women. We know it consciously, but consciously is not enough to affect our actual behavior and feelings. It is not helpful to project feminine characteristics into a man, even in England, and yet lots of women talk to men in their lives as though that man is actually a woman like themselves. By the way, this can happen at any point during a relationship. Some women do it later on, and some women even do it on the first date. We talk to him as if he's a girlfriend or a sister. And when he doesn't respond like a girlfriend or a sister would, we get annoyed and start thinking about the if only. If only just be a little bit more. If only he'd stop saying. If only he'd stop doing. And let's not even go into what he's thinking at this point. Now let's take a quick look at another aspect of this behavior. Many women are okay with the fact that men's behavior will be mysterious to them at first. They expect mysteries and question at first, such as him. They expect mysteries and questions at first, such as men, such as him not responding in the way that they expected. But they expect to be able to figure him out eventually after getting to know him better. And when of course they can't figure him out no matter how much water goes under the bridge. Yep, you got it. They get upset. They start to worry and feel like something's wrong and end up creating problem out of thin air. Why don't you tell me how you feel? Why didn't you tell me that? Know what? No matter how well you get to know a man, aspects of his behavior will forever remain a mystery to you. And you know what else? That's okay. You don't need to understand men fully in order to attract him or to keep him. It's quite alright for you to be mystified by masculine behavior sometimes. In fact, it's normal and healthy. You're never going to know a man inside and out. And in fact, he's always going to be much, much more than what you think of him. It's helpful to keep this in mind, as taking our own knowledge of our dates and partners for granted is a great way to tarnish a great relationship. Um, Principle number 2. Men are attracted to women because we are women. Yes, 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 I know this one sounds pretty self-evident too, but bear with me here, it gets better. Let me ask you this. Have you ever experienced the phenomenon of the amazing sex-changing friend? In fact, before I wised up, I was actually guilty of this few times. First, this is not an actual physical sex change we're talking about here. It's a lot more insidious than that. Here's what usually happens. Lots of women, when they find a guy they really like, begin and undergo a perplexing metamorphosis. sorry, metamorphosis, can't pronounce that word. They begin to scuff off their own personalities, hobbies, interests, and pastimes, and replace them with personality, hobbies, interests, and pastimes of their lover. They are becoming a version of the men they're dating. Here's how it goes. They start taking interest in the things he's interested, even if really they could care less, and then start giving a lot more priority to him than they do their own friends and their own lives. Now let's talk Turkey for a moment. I'm not suggesting that you arbitrarily begin to not see him or that you should make yourself scarce or make a point of seeing your friends more than him to keep him in his place. But in the fact, is that dropping your life and your own lifestyle in order to adopt somebody else's? And usually this gets done out a misplaced attempt to make him like you more, which makes it even more damaging and needy seeming. Is simply not the way to go if you want to create loving, healthy, fulfilling relationships that go the distance. When this starts to happen, here's what he thinks. Hey, where'd she go? The woman that he was actually attracted to vanished into thin air to be replaced with a strange version of himself, a version of him who incidentally happens to have breasts and a vagina, but also has all of a sudden near identical tastes, interests, and preferences, reactions, and sense of humor. This behavior, the I like you should become you trait, is common. Furthermore, is the leading cause of premature death in attraction relationships. Why? Because it reeks of insecurity. The kind of woman that quality men tend to like is to get on with the shirt, but above all, she has self-respect and she loves herself. Suppressing your real self in order to take his deep self is just not the kind of thing that woman with backbone would do. Most guys, the ones worth having anyway, can sense that when some spine is lacking and it turns them off. Couple this with the fact that they missed the woman they started dating. That's you, the real you. The one who's been replaced by scary he clone with boobs, and you've got a recipe for instant mediocrity. And no, it doesn't matter how pretty you are or how hot things get in bedroom either. This isn't something that can be rationalized away with logic or reason. And no, him telling you he's so into you despite this type of behavior doesn't count as reason to carry on with either. Why? Because men don't usually want a woman who needs to be validated or reassured. They want a woman who already knows what the deal is and who values herself without needing approval from him. This kind of validation seeking behavior, when you're pretty sure that something's up, but instead of listening to yourself, you start asking, is everything okay? Are you mad at me? You seem distant. What's going on? It's rooted in security and fear that he won't like you as you are, and it's an attraction killer. Furthermore, sooner or later, you're going to miss your own self respect. Take it from me. I've done that. Guilty of it. Fact. Guys are not attracted to you because you resemble them. They don't want to date another guy. They especially don't want to date a guy who just like they are. Men want to date women with backbones who already get how to act appropriately in relationships. And women are by definition completely different than men. Different to men. By the way, if you should happen to be genuinely interested in the things men is interested in, this is not to say you should pretend otherwise, but you should never feel the need to fake an interest in something or fake a personality that's just not you in order to create and perpetuate an attraction. Don't be guilty, apologize, or attempt to conceal your womanliness and your own personality. Women are mysterious creatures to men, and a lot of the time that unexplained essence of femininity is what men find so appealing. As a rule, don't pretend to be interested in shooting ranges, soccer pitches, or car racing if you're not, of course, a little friendly, polite interest in his passions never goes astray. But definitely, there's no need to break out the footballer's wife act if it's not your cup of tea. And don't feel bad for doing the things you love that he doesn't. Side note: did you know that taking pride in what you love, even if it's a little dorky or you feel unsure of saying it, so is actually one of the hallmarks of the genuine quality woman? So in other words, in other words, no pretending, non-interest in traditionally girly things that you actually are interested. It's all about being authentically you. When you are how you are and you let yourself be how you are without self-editing or twisting yourself into awkward shapes into impress anybody, there are several immediate benefits. You lose self-respect and high self-value. Instant, massive, turn on quality smart men. You prevent yourself getting tied up in relationships with men who are not into the kind of woman that you really are. You lay out the welcome mat for men who actually are compatible with you. Femininity, no matter what shape or form it comes, is sexy. And by the way, you are a woman, therefore, your own style is by default feminine. Principle number 3: you're not owed relationship, you earn one. Part of having a fantastic relationship is being worthy of having one, being a top quality human being. The only problem here is that for many women, a relationship is something that deep down they feel entitled to as opposed to something they actually deserve. The result: when they finally do get a relationship, it's because poisoned by feelings of I'll give you this if you give me that, which stems directly from feeling that an emotional debt has finally paid to them. Here is the deal: relationships are not about emotional transactions. Instead, they are fabulous opportunities for you to learn about yourself, learn about others, and actually connect with someone. Unfortunately, most of us are far too interested in protecting ourselves and checking off boxes on a list of relationship qualities that we think we want to be able to see and enjoy what's right in front of us. You just get all tangled up with having our ideals met, and it gets right in the way of having real relationship. Here is the secret: what a lot of women think as rejection is often a learning experience. Let me explain. Do you know what your attitude actually creates your reality? It's true. This all boils down to quantum physics and the law of attraction, which states that whatever you appreciate. In other words, whatever you're thankful for and happy about, you will get more of. It stands to reason when it starts to reason that when you're down about getting something and you expect failure, rejection, and that's actually what you get. This Does this mean that if you force yourself to believe that every man in the world is attracted to you, then that's what you'll get? No, unfortunately, it's not quite literal. What it does mean that is that if you can really believe within yourself, a fantastic relationship is your birthright, and it will come your way sooner or later, then you will manifest that reality in your life. Of course, you may still have to experience some rejection first, but funnily enough, the belief that every rejection is taking you a step closer to your true love and the relationship that you deserve, tends to take the sightings out of rejection. And when you're able to relax into the moment and accept your reality as it's right now without struggling against or wishing it was other than it is, that's when things start to fall into place. On a more practical level, consider the value of someone who is whiny, acts powerless, and complains a lot to somebody who is peaceful, calm, accepting, and optimistic. Sorry, I'm very excited about this. People who complain and who put up negative energy are quite frankly repellent. People who are happy, on the other hand, are sexy. You just want to be around them. It's hard to be happy when you don't believe that the right person is out there somewhere for you. But it's not difficult to just chill out and relax and let things happen naturally, without trying to force intimacy when you're sure that one day, maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, you're going to meet the guy who'll just be wowed by you and will feel them who will feel the same about you, who appreciates you, what you appreciates. So it makes it sense to create useful beliefs that support your attractiveness and irresistibly, doesn't it? Here's something that's even better. When you learn not to think of dating and relationships as either being rejected or being accepted, as winning and losing, you'll be able to grow as a person every time you experience a setback. Oh, and incidentally, people who think of knockbacks in dating and relationships as failures are actually settling themselves to fail big time in the long run. They're thinking in terms of winning versus losing. And so when they lose in their own minds, they actually become loser. From that point on, every single thing that happened becomes another opportunity to fail. As a result, the outcome of every situation becomes so important. And it's very scary and it's literally paralyzing. You become so frightened to attempt anything. The best way out is to take a step back and remember that whatever happens, it's not a big deal. It's really not. There is someone out there for you. All you have to do is find them. You just keep on being your best self and being happy and fulfilled as possible in your own life, and he will show up. So if this particular situation doesn't work out, it's not a big deal. When you're not too attracted to the outcome of a particular situation, you are immediately free to act appropriately to it. You're no longer paralyzed by fear of failing. It's usually the people who care less about what happens who are the ones who actually get the big results. And it's the ones who are obsessed about what happens and who get all worked up about it that don't get what they want. This is not about winning or losing. It's not about failing. It's about learning and developing as a woman. Every encounter you have with men can teach you something about how to better yourself for the next encounter. That's how you learn from your mistakes. On last hands up before we say goodbye to these principles, then for the other principles, we'll be talking about how to apply these principles to the real world dating situations, including how to attract a man and how to keep your relationship hot. Thank you for listening. See you in the next videos.